All right, good day, hi, and welcome. Okay, do you have a sticky nitrocellulose lacquer guitar? No problem, because today we are going to talk about how to deal with that, a sticky guitar. So, something that a lot of people tend to comment, typically, not just with Gibson, but anybody that uses nitrocellulose lacquer, is how sticky it is at first, right? And it's really not that hard to deal with it. First, you have to get yourself a lint-free cloth. I got this as a guitar polishing kit years and years ago. But when you first buy a guitar with nitrocellulose lacquer, you have to understand a few fundamental things about lacquer. It's the guitars are dry, obviously, by the time they get to the store. But lacquer, in its nature, is a soft finish, right? But it's work hardening. So we'll get into what that means in a few minutes. But basically, what ends up happening is when you're painting lacquer, you pretty much have to do it in a static free room because it will actually attract dust. Well, like it just it just attracts dust, right? So when you paint it, what happens is the residue that's especially if they're painting it with a spray gun, whatever. What ends up happening is the residue settles on it, right? So they buff it up and all that when they're done, once it's dry enough. But it still stays soft for many months after. Like it's probably about 6 months of drying. Well, I don't know. They probably have better ways of drying it faster than 6 months, but it takes about 6 months for the stuff to really kind of settle, right? And once it does, and it goes out to the music store, you pick it up and you play it, and it feels fine. Then after you play it for a little while, it starts to feel a little bit sticky. So what you do is you grab absolutely no guitar polishes, and especially do not use furniture polish like Pledge. If you don't want it, like you will ruin your nitrocellulose finish with that stuff. Once that stuff gets worked into the lacquer, it'll always have like a foggy. You'll never get it out. It gets worked into the actual finish. So for the first 6 months, don't use any guitar polish or nothing. You just get a lint-free cloth, right? Like so. You can get them with any guitar polishing kit, and just wipe it down. That's it, because it's work hardening. So every time you wipe it down, the finish gets a little bit harder, right? And what ends up happening after a while, like I didn't wipe these two guitars before I actually hit the record button, but I wipe them down pretty much every time I use them. What ends up happening is once it gets to a certain point, it almost always has that wet look, and that's why these guitars just come out so beautifully. Um, it has a very deep finish. Like you just run the rag over it like 3 times, and you got a mirror finish each time. Like I say, it looks like it's soaking wet. It's just absolutely beautiful. But for the first little bit, especially if you're going to be, say, playing live with the guitar right away, bring a cloth like this to the gig with you. Wipe it down after every song, especially if your hands get really hot or you start to sweat. I would kind of try to avoid sweating on the guitar for at least the first 6 months if you can, if you can handle it, because again, the sweat with the salts in it and stuff like that, it'll tarnish the finishes. That's why typically you see like on nitrocellulose guitars, right around here, right where your armrest is typically where it tarnishes the most. Now, after a while, like you'll pick the guitar up, you'll polish it, it'll feel smooth. You'll play it, you'll put it away, and then when you pick it up again, it feels a little bit sticky. You polish it right away, and then you play, and then when you're done, like say, you don't have to go crazy with it, but just give it a quick rub down. Then after a while, you're just going to pick the guitar up, and it's just going to be smooth all the time. And once you got that, then the finish is worked, hard enough that you don't have to worry about it. I don't use a lot of guitar polish on guitars like this, maybe once in a while. Like when I change the strings, I do like a detailed cleaning of the guitar, and that's it. If you're going to oil up your fingerboard right from the get-go, when the finish is soft, make sure you don't get any of the fingerboard, whether it's olive oil or lemon oil or whatever you're going to use for the fingerboard. Just make sure you don't put any of that on the finish if you can help it, because any sort of chemical, keep it away from the guitar for at least the first 6 months. Polish it between every song, like just a quick rub down, and then when you're done, just rub the thing down, really quick. It takes it like 30 seconds. And if you do that, once you do, like I say, once you get it to the point where it doesn't really need it anymore, like you'll pick up the guitar and it'll never be sticky. And this is will also help with the guitar, like on the neck, for slipperiness of the neck. Now, when it's really hot or really muggy, yeah, the finish will always be a bit sticky. That's just nature of it, whatever. But when it's really hot, that's usually the best time. Like if it's really hot and muggy, that's usually the best time to rub it down with one of these, because then again, that's when it's soft and, kind of softened up. And when you rub it, it hardens it up a bit. And then when it cools down, it's even harder. So that's how it works. So if you have a nitrocellulose finish on a brand new guitar, particularly like when I bought this one secondhand, but I bought this one new. So when I bought this one new, that's how I did it. And that guitar is 18 years old, believe it or not. And that finish still looks like the day I bought it. So, in fact, it probably looks better. So just keep wiping it down. Don't use any chemicals on it. Wipe it down every time you use it. Again, just quick. You don't have to go nuts with it, but just, particularly the neck and around here, these areas, and that'll keep you from it'll get to the point where it will no longer be sticky. All right, there you go.